first film, David Robert Mictchells' 2014 film It Follows, is a strange morphing piece. Morphing because it's actually not what you think it is. It's been suggested by Robert Mictchells himself that this film was inspired by recurring nightmares he had as a child.
But I disagree. This is an homage.
Take, for instance, its long, leaning looks at people who are having sex, or at least trying to have sex, and its rather shiny, jazzy glow. You see, if you look at the film that the two lovebirds go and watch at the very start, that is the Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn wishy-washy Stanley Donen film Charade, you kind of get what I'm trying to nod at. This film is nothing to do with what it suggests. The recurring nightmare may have been a little motif, but let's be honest, this is all about what this film isn't. This film isn't high budget, but it looks it. This film isn't a slasher flick, but it is. And more than anything else, this film is fantastically well produced and fantastically directed. Films which were obsessed by sexuality, and especially female sexuality. Remember, in those films, as soon as you lost your innocence, well, you lost your life. And fascinatingly enough, this film is obsessed with the way that, well, once you lose something, you can't get it back. And innocence itself plays at the central point of this film. It's almost like as if it's nodding towards the loss of America with the decaying buildings and decaying industries. And look at the panning shots of the houses, which are all absolutely empty and almost devoid of life. Well, anyway, what I'm trying to suggest is that this film is not inspired, as he suggests, by Carpenter, but more by David Lynch's obsessions about suburbia and observations about how twisted and deformed suburbia had become.
He used a fake name to rent a house in the city.
This isn't real, I swear to you, this is just some game.
And you've got to see the subtle jokes that are hidden in the film, like the discarding of the tissues of enjoyment in the horrible boy's house. You know, the one who passed on this horrible, cursed thing. I mean, that in itself is absolutely brilliantly handled, because it's so discardedly thrown away, but yet so integral to the whole plot. Then, if you look further, what you get to see is the wonderful score by Disaster Piece, which is kind of aiming to be a John Carpenter-esque piece, but actually is a kind of pop synth classic. In many respects, strangely toned down enough to, well, distract from how cheap and how cost-effective it actually is. So when you watch this, don't have nightmares, just run.